Good afternoon, everyone. Live from Silicon Valley, California. This is Success Sadhana. My name is JM, and I welcome you all to our program today, where we continue our series, The Nectar of Relationships. Today is session number 4, The Power of Gratitude, Nurturing Appreciation in Relationships. With our speaker today, Vaish, a veteran Bhakti yogi, author, and former monk. We have around 12 members on Zoom. People are still dialing in, wrapping up their program today from work. And we have 20 members on our Facebook. Thank you so much, Vaish. Very excited to have another episode on Success Sadhana with you.
Me too, Jam. I'm really happy to be here. Grateful, in fact. Sometimes we hear a lot about, well, that doesn't make sense. Let me try to speak English today. We hear a lot about gratitude. It can almost become cliche. I've heard it so many times. I keep a gratitude journal. So what else is new? Well, it is one of the foundational principles of our life, and we're presenting it here as one of the main principles of the nectar of relationships. And I looked up nectar just now because we also might take that for granted. I mean, Knudsens make some kind of guava nectar, and they're nectar this, nectar that. Here's what it says in Greek and Roman mythology: the drink of the gods. I don't think Knudsen can claim that, but there is a way in which we can bring exuberance to our relationships, renew them by remembering to be grateful. I'll go into some of the details of that today. Just in thinking about it and putting together the program for today, I thought of this element as an element that's easy to forget. It's easy to take for granted. It's easy to think, oh, that's just self-help stuff. And really, I've tried it before, it doesn't work. No, it does work. And it's one of the reasons is it's intrinsic to our nature to be grateful. I'll mention that too. In fact, I'll mention it right now. We're naturally appreciators. There's a way in which we're parts of the whole, and the parts have an intrinsic duty, nature, and that is to appreciate the whole. That sounds a little abstract, but this is one of the main points. It's called Dharma. Know what you're good at. Know what really makes you resonate with the whole, that makes you feel connected. And amazingly, it's gratitude and appreciation. So how does that relate to our topic today? When you remember to be grateful, when you practice gratitude, then it immediately brings you, I'm not saying that as hyperbole, it immediately brings you back into harmony with the relationship that you have with someone. Even if the person doesn't accept it, you still benefit from it. That's pretty good. So that's our little preview of what we're going to be talking about. You can tell I'm excited about it. And thanks everyone for taking a little break from your busy schedules today. It's it's hard to carve out a little time, and you're all doing it. So I'm very grateful to you. JM, how about if we start with just a little introspection? I'll try to keep speaking English through the whole program today. Introspection, what do you think? Let's try. So let's sit up a little straighter than we were a second ago. Today, I'm going to give you a little tanpura. This is a classical instrument from India, and it gives a drone. There are electronic, of course, this is electronics coming off YouTube, but there are boxes you can get nowadays where they'll play various keys of drone like this. Nice to have around. And you can find these. I'm going to be in the key. That's C sharp. C sharp's too high. I'm going to go to a regular C. Aha. Let's see if you can tell the difference. Hold on. And now, JM, let's start with a few slides, starting with the first one, the opening page. And I'm going to talk about the principle of gratitude as a way to enhance all our relationships. In the very first, in this series, I mentioned how we all have a relationship to our source, and that's the foundational relationship of all relationships. So this one's the power of gratitude, nurturing appreciation in relationships. The word nurture comes from a word that means to maintain. And how do we maintain our appreciation, and how does it relate to our relationships? Well, according to me today, a lot. How much? A lot. All right, let's look at the first slide. By the way, the Success Sadhana app is blowing up. People all over the world are actually using it. And if you want to try it out, you can just download it from the App Store. There are simple processes there that keep you on track to be balanced body, mind, and spirit. So I highly recommend you go to the Apple Store and just download the app and go through it. It's simple, but very helpful. I use it every day. Okay, Jam, I'm ready to go. Our gratitude and appreciation for others is a determinant of the quality of our relationships with them. So my thesis for my thesis paper today, and that is what most determines the quality of our relationship. It's how much gratitude we have for those that we're in relationship with. The tradition that I've caught on to since 1973 is called Bhakti Yoga, or devotional service. And sometimes we call it the yoga of love and gratitude. And yoga indicates some kind of practice, something that we do, a home practice, a practice that we integrate into our daily life. We don't go away to a cave. We stay in the world. And how do we stay connected and engage in the world in an enlightened way? Well, through Bhakti Yoga, or the ways in which we cultivate gratitude for all the relationships we have, including for our source. That's where it starts. And then there's the concept of the appreciating capacity. If anybody's ever been on this program before, you've heard me say appreciating capacity. Probably if you had one nickel for every time I said it, you could buy yourself a new house. Probably way out in the country, though. Okay, so continuing the thought, and that is everything that happens to us is a personal loving gift. So we have this picture. I asked JM to put a picture in of a child. I don't know if it's a child there, but drawing a smiling face on the sun. And I remember from kindergarten when I learned how to do finger painting, houses always had to have a smile on them. The sun always, it was sacrilege not to put a smile and a face on the sun. What to speak of trees, you could pick anything, it'd have to have a smiling face. And I'm presenting this as evidence that we have this inherent sense of personality. We have personality, and so does, well, I'm going to say in a very trendy way, the universe. There's a way in which there's a personality behind the universe. It's nature that's we're dealing with, but whose nature? There's a personality behind it. And therefore, everything happens to us as a personal loving gift. Everything? Vaish, come on, give me a break. Everything? Aren't some things really bad? How can I take it as a loving gift? Well, the concept of the Vedic teachings is that the universe is a classroom that's meant to bring us to the best version of ourselves. We have unlimited potential to develop ourselves. And this universe and all of the ways that it works gives us sensitivity training. It brings us to an enlightened state of realizing that our interactions with people, however subtle they are, matter. They all have an effect, either now or 100 years from now or 100 lifetimes from now. Every single word we say, the thoughts that we have, the way we interact with others has a consequence. And it's a lot more than we think because we're more powerful than we think. I may think I'm insignificant, so I'll treat other people as insignificant. But then when that comes back to us, we realize, no, actually, whatever I said or did had a profound effect, either good or bad, on people. And the way we feel, the way our hearts become conditioned to the various ways that we deal with people, and because of the reactions we get from that, begins to sensitize us, or at least if we're trying. And that's why I said yoga is a practice. It's a cultivation. It's a way to cultivate the heart, to make ourselves more open to appreciating what's going on in the world, and especially what's going on with other people. Is really a key. Is when I start to realize, and I don't mean to preempt the next slides, but when we start to realize that there's so much to appreciate in others and to have gratitude for how much others are doing for us. In fact, there's a verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam that starts off by saying that along with our birth, we owe everybody. It says, Devarshi Bhutatna Nrinam Pitrinam Nakinkoronayam Ranicha Rajan. Rini means in Sanskrit, it means a debtor. And why? Why does it say that? Because Devarshi Bhutatma Nrinam, that's a list of all the people that help us to survive. We have parents, there's animals that feed us. There's the forefathers who made it possible for us to be descendants. That's a weird way to say it. But the long list is of teachers, includes teachers who have passed down to us wisdom and so forth. And all of this comes into our life as a gift for us. And so the Vedas say we should consider how grateful we should be grateful for all of these helpers, and those are helping us even to stay alive or to educate us and so forth. This is one of the perspectives. And then realizing that there's a benevolent purpose behind the universe, that I'm a recipient of that benevolence. That's how we're able to come to this realization when we look at the universe as this cosmic schoolhouse, and that I'm here to improve myself. I live to be corrected, that is, and to refine. Then there's a way that we can see everything as a personal loving gift. Is that what I called it? Yeah? Okay. It's easier to do when you get something that you like. And when you get something you don't like, you may not be ready for it. So the practice of yoga and bhakti is to be ready for it. The PLGs, the personal loving gifts we get. Whether we consider it to be good or bad, it goes against my plan. But if we realize the bigger plan of the universe, at least accept it theoretically, that I'm here for refining myself. And that actually real happiness comes from my own integrity. When I feel that I'm doing the right things and I'm acting in the right ways, and I'm relating to people in high-minded ways, then I feel satisfaction. But whatever material assets I have, if I leave other people out or I neglect my relationships, there's no way to feel whole. There's no way to feel satisfied and happy. I've been putting out a lot of hypotheses today so far. Let's just take a few reflections to see if If any of them resonate with you, or if you have a question, or would you like to challenge the thesis statement, any of these things? Please reflect. Reflections just means anything you heard so far that resonated with you and you thought, well, I'm glad I picked that up. Or if you heard something that didn't quite make sense, you can mention that. I'm going to pull my sign out if you don't speak up, because somebody gave me a sign the other day. It says, work with me, people.
You can unmute and share your questions, reflections,
That's
or
right.
you can
Sharing
type.
means caring, right, JM?
Yes, sharing definitely means caring.
Hare Krishna, I'll jump in.
Okay, please.
Yeah, in one of your slides, you had mentioned appreciating capacity, and that really blew me away. Because in a world where we're really trying to enjoy everything, it's so different to enjoy something versus to appreciate it. And that really just blew my mind. And it makes me wonder as well, what other things that we have a limit with, that we impose a limit with. And so with gratitude and appreciation, it really feels like the one thing that we should have no limit with. So I'd love to know more what you think about that.
Yeah, the word appreciate means recognize the full worth of, or to be grateful for something, it says. And then the second definition is to understand a situation fully, recognize, English please, the full implications of. And then it comes from, believe it or not, Latin. And the late Latin means set at a price. Appraised, it also means appraised, from the verb appretere, from add to, and pretium, which means price. To realize the value of things, to appreciate them. Thank you. Yeah, the appreciating capacity can be expanded. And when we do that, actually, my teacher wrote about this once, and he talked about how different species of life have various capacities to expand their capacity. When we come to the human life, it's especially meant for this, to expand our appreciating capacity to its maximum level. Okay, we have Rajesh.
Hi. Just following up to the appreciation teaching which you had, giving us. I yesterday went to, actually I was trying to chase one of the business community which has been helping us in our local facility here in the Bay Area. And I couldn't meet for many times just because of the conflict and the remote. But somehow yesterday I got a chance to meet the lady who has been very kind enough to help us all the time. And just to express that appreciation, I just took a little bit of a gift back and then visited her. And when I expressed that gratitude, she was so happy. And she sent a note back to me. I just wanted to read it. I don't want to name her, but just what she said, it actually expressed. She said, I do not have any words to thank you for your generosity and kindness. So a heartfelt thank you to you and your congregations. So it expands, I express to her, she's not only expressing to me and to all our congregation and all the teaching which we are, giving it to us. So just thought to share back to you. Thank you.
Yeah, this is the power of enacting gratitude when you feel appreciative of somebody, or enacting appreciation when you go out of your way. It's something that's mentioned in one of the writings about Bhakti Yoga from 500 years ago. There's a list of things to do. And it starts off with dadati pratigurnati, means to give gifts and accept gifts. That's nice work if you can get it. When you actually feel grateful to somebody and you have that urge, let me express my gratitude, my appreciation, and then you go out of your way like you did, then there's something that happens in the universe that doesn't normally happen. There's a way that people also feel that They can't repay that. Even if it's a simple gesture, they feel they can't repay it. So what is that? It's a special power we have, this power of appreciation. JM, looks
Yeah.
like we got some action here in the box.
Yes, we have a couple of reflections and questions. One is from Mayank. He says, "It is said that hindsight is 2020. This is in line with the attitude of taking even non-pleasing events in life as PLG, personal loving gift."
Sometimes it takes a while for them to sink in, because that goes to what Wolf is talking about. There may be trauma in our life, and obviously it's not that we're Pollyanna and we just say, oh, it didn't matter. It does matter. These things they hurt. And if we're aware, if we're looking for the lesson, in fact, it's something I wrote about in a book that just got sent to the printer yesterday, about the 4 questions. And one of the questions is, what's the lesson? And although we're at a slight disadvantage because we can't see everything that's happening and why it's happening in the moment. Why did we lose a dog or a child or a friend or something like that? It's hard in the moment to connect all the dots and say what's happening. But as Mayank, you're pointing out here, if we look back, if we're looking for the lesson and keep asking for it, then there's a way that it starts to solidify in our lives. We're open to it. We don't become victims and just say, I'm being abused. If we take the other point of view that it's a gift, but how is it a gift? What's the lesson behind it? Okay, so there's ways in which when we have somebody in life and then we lose them, of course, it's inevitable because we're all just moving through, right? It's not that any relationship, at least on the material level, is going to persist forever. You can't keep it. So I've had experience where I lost my parents, for instance. They left because I'm the youngest in the family. They left, I don't know, more than 10 years ago, but I had the experience that even as they left and there was that void, then I felt the void, filled back in again with all the ways that they had taken care of me during my life. And I took that as an impetus to try to pay that back and carry it forward and so forth. So I think, Wolf, in the way that Mayank put it about this looking back and trying to take the lesson, at least that's how I interpreted what he said, there's a way to process all of those kinds of events in our lives, even if they in the moment seem to be very difficult to reconcile or to deal with. Part of this relationship we have with the world, or as I said, the universe, or the source of the universe, the personality behind the universe, is to remain open to it, that there's a benevolent purpose. And if we do that, we can find it. KJ, I'm ready for giving a shorter answer next time. Go ahead.
Ariana says, I think you already covered Wolf's question. Thank you. Ariana says, they say that the quality of your relationships correlates with the quality of your life. But that feels like so much power in the hands of someone else. I guess I'm grappling with that.
They say that the quality of your relationships correlates to the quality of your life. Well, one thing is we can always improve the quality of our lives. And I am making a similar point, and that is the amount that we're able to cultivate gratitude for what we have in our relationships, or what we have in general in our lives, does open the door for deeper relationships. And one of my main points is that it isn't in the hands of others, it's in our hands. Because when we practice gratitude in relationships, even if the other person is not responsive, it doesn't mean that we can't still appreciate them. I have a friend like that. I do have a friend like that. I have to admit, I've been thinking about him recently because I'm probably going to run into him soon when I travel. And he can be really grouchy. And although, we have this mutual respect and love for each other, there's a way that he often becomes just seemingly ungrateful and becomes abusive almost, just in the way he deals with me and other people. But I can't help it. I have a level of appreciation for the amazing things that he's done in his life and things like that. And even though I don't have to condone the way he acts sometimes, I still have an appreciation for him. And that, what my realization, it has insulated me from that reactive state. It's like, oh, if he's going to say that, then I got to say this back again. I have to defend myself. I don't, because, hey, it doesn't matter what you say to me, because I'm not envious of you. I'm not trying to compete. And, and that's disarming for people. And of course, I'm not trying to make the case that you have to interact. I mean, sometimes we have to interact with certain types of people, but it doesn't mean that we have to interact with people that are bad for us. Okay, Jam, how about a couple more? Oh, there's one more from Linda.
Yeah.
Please.
Linda says, I found that even when I go out of my way for someone and they are not appreciative, it always comes back in another way. Someone completely different will do something for me shortly after. What you put out comes back to you.
Nice. I like that a lot. And besides, you did the right thing too. There's a certain satisfaction. I mentioned earlier, integrity. When you do the right thing, there may not be immediate appreciation from someone else, but as you said, it comes back to you. There's a karmic level, and there's also a way that you feel, yeah, I check, I review, I did the right thing. So I'm okay. I maintained my patience, or I did, was honest with the person in the right way. Okay, Jam, one more.
Yes, we have SG saying, even though you know how you deal with your friend, but when do you call it that you reached the limit?
I would say when it looks like it's something that is distracting you from your purpose. And it doesn't mean that, as I said earlier, you have to stay close to the relationship. Sometimes there's a little more distance required to have appreciation. Sometimes the farther back you move from the relationship, the more you can appreciate someone from afar. So it doesn't mean you have to mix it up. But the question was, when do you call it that you have reached the limit? I think that the moment you realize that it's not helpful to you, and that it's something probably that's exacerbating, if you're staying in the relationship and is exacerbating that person's nature that is perhaps ornery or envious or something like that. I'm just speaking from what it says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and that is there are ways to relate to different kinds of people, and that we're not obligated to hang in there with everybody, because sometimes it makes the relationship worse. So that's based on, if somebody's completely closed, then there's a way that you may want to back up a little bit until the time is right. So if it becomes non-productive and it becomes more caustic in relating with somebody, then the Srimad Bhagavatam says, good to make a little distance. Okay, Jam, back to the slides, and let's see what we got next.
Sure. Before going back to slides, I just want to make a quick announcement. Next job, the Mantra Zone. So this is coming up next Friday at Palo Alto. So as you know, we do get together to have mantra music, meditation, and light wisdom discussion, and a wonderful feast together. So why should be there? He'll be here on Friday, the October 13th at 6:30 p.m. And we'll also celebrate the spiritual progress all the inner harmony course participants have made. So several of them have registered. So an invitation will go out. Please look out for that. So we'll all look forward to having you. So some of them I know will be joining online as well, in addition to those who are able to come in person. So invite will go out. So looking forward to meeting all of you with Vaish to celebrate the spiritual progress we all are making together. So Vaish, would you want to say a word of encouragement?
Well, just that I think your imitation of Rod Serling's getting much better. Next stop, the mantra zone. I like it. It's a age-old process in the system of bhakti yoga, just to come together. We have cities and towns. What are they for? Just working hard all day and then going into a closed room and watching a screen? Not so much. Actually, what's best about civilization is when we get together. We break bread together. You got to do that. Humans love to do that. And then do something productive where you come out feeling better. Hey, pretty good, my unk. And so I recommend it. It's a home environment, and it's friendly, and it's productive, and it's a safe space. So it's good to come into.
Thank you.
All gratitude is personal. This is one of my pet, what do I call it? A pet what? Pet theses. Because I've been thinking about this a lot. It doesn't mean it's true because I've been thinking about it, but I can back it up. Let me just present why gratitude is personal. You can't have gratitude for an impersonal force, because gratitude means there was some intention behind what was done for you, and the thing that you're grateful for has to come from some intelligence. If somebody, okay, I've given this example multiple times, but it works, so I'm going to give it again. If somebody drops something valuable on the ground and you just pick it up and walk away with it without their knowledge, how do you feel? Of course, none of you do that, but I'm just saying, how would you feel if you did something like that? Not so good. Or if you rob a bank. I can never figure out how people made a living by robbing banks. You know, you're always looking over your shoulder. I stole something, I did something, I took it away. And so how could you really be grateful for the money because you stole it? So there's a way in which, okay, the next scenario is somebody then gives you something valuable because they appreciate you. Then you would have gratitude because they consciously, deliberately did it. So there's this idea about a personal universe. It's not impersonal. There's personality behind everything, and there's a personality behind the universe. And so there's a sense that, as I said before, benevolence, it has to come from intelligence. It has to be meted out based on a kindness of heart. So this theory of the kind or benevolent universe is something that's there in the Vedas. It's a different way of looking at things. And I would argue that's what most self-help people are talking about. It's not what happens to you, what you do about what happens, and everything's meant to teach you something. Yeah, there's actually a system. There's an ology, something you can study and follow up on that. So that means that everything that we get, that we can be grateful for, we have to be able to trace it back and say, oh yeah, somebody meant to do that. They meant to do that, and that's why I'm grateful for it. So how does that relate to today's subject, which is the nectar of relationships, how to improve relationships? Now let's go back to that slide again, because it's a simple slide, but it's kind of beautiful. And it's the fact that when you put your personality or your intention into giving something, it doesn't matter how small it is, but that's what rocks the world. And so if you make something deliberately for somebody and you do it very personally, and they feel the force of that, it comes from you, it came from your intention. It's like when you go to your mailbox and you see somebody signed the envelope This ever happened to you? It was actually signed. And then you pick it up and you realize it wasn't actually signed. It was mechanically signed. It was probably done by AI. Or if you get a love letter in the mail and then you read it and you say, oh, and then you find out, no, that was generated by AI and you were just picked out because you had happened to have been on somewhere on the internet. They found your address. You're not so moved by that, right? So in a practical way, the more personal we are with someone in our gesture and the way we reach out to them, the more meaningful it is. And it's the great power of the universe. The greatest power of the universe is love. And we can do that because we're conscious beings. And we can also feel the reciprocation from the personality of the universe called Jagadishwar. There's this way the universe is running on benevolence. JM, I don't want to leave out Wolf, because when Wolf talks, I listen. What did he say?
Okay. So Wolf says, using the blank is a matter of personal choice. Formula where the blank is anything and everything you pick. Help me to reflect my own and others' results, just sharing.
Using the blank. This is like algebra. We get to put in something there, right? That's X. What do we put in? Using the what? The car.
You can use the relationships, the anything and everything is, for example, war, relationship to war is a matter of personal choice. The love, the money, the society, the children, the friends, the parents, and so on and so forth. Hope it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. In fact, there was a Holocaust survivor who wrote about how we have a choice at every moment. Even when he was starving and isolated and abused, he still realized within himself he had a choice. He had free will. He could decide how to look at it at any given second.
Yep, Viktor Frankl.
Viktor Frankl. I read his book. Thanks, Wolf. Really powerful insights.
And Mayank said, if it is not personal, it's spam.
Yeah, it's spam. I'm going to look that up. Spam, maybe it's in the dictionary. Irrelevant or inappropriate messages sent on the internet to a large number of recipients, unwanted or intrusive advertising on the internet. Yeah, advertising because they want something from you. It's not actually a gesture of love or appreciation. It's like, yeah, I approached you because I want something, and then I backed up from the personal part. I just put it out to everybody in case I would catch somebody. Okay, I'll do a few more slides, Jam. Time's going fast because this is too much fun. Gratitude comes from a word, if you look up in the etymological dictionary, online is called etymoline. You can look up the origin of words. They date back from this theoretical, most of them from the theoretical Proto-Indo-European. That's a theory. But many of them are demonstratively from Sanskrit, and linguists agree on them, so they're included in there. So gratitude comes from Sanskrit granati. So granati means to sing or praise or announce. That's kind of interesting because, hey, the Beatles sang it, all you need is love. I gave a seminar about that once, and it just happened that one of my really dear friends who's a musician was walking by when I was about to start the seminar, and I asked him to come in and sing and play. He's a pianist, play the first few lines of that song. He can play anything. He's been on the show before. So there's a way, gratitude means to sing, all you need is love. You know, it comes out of you when you're grateful. You want to sing, you want to praise, you want to announce. It's quite natural to do that because gratitude wants to share itself. That's what it means. Wants to share itself. Happiness wants to share itself. Express your gratitude and watch your relationship grow. So that's very practical, isn't it? After all these theories and suppositions, there's a way in which If you just enact this, try it today, homework, everybody. Anybody that you have a relationship with in any capacity, can you think of somebody where you have a very remote connection with them? I'm thinking of our UPS driver. When's the last time you showed gratitude to UPS driver? They'll freak out if you go show them appreciation. You just go out and take, we really appreciate you. You're driving out right now, it's hot. So you're driving around in the warm weather. Thank you very much. One word like that, showing gratitude to somebody, their mind will be blown. People don't get a lot of that. At least it's out of the ordinary, right? It shouldn't be. And when you do that, just think how that person will respond in the future. When they think of you, they'll think of, yeah, that person opened my heart. They gave me a little gratitude, right? Look, SG said something. I appreciate USPS postman every year during Christmas, giving them chocolates. That's nice, SG. See, that's what I'm talking about. You probably get your mail on time too. Okay, a couple more slides. I hope you're finding this practical. And here's one. It's a saying I use all the time, and apparently it's so popular that Jam was even able to find a meme. Whatever you appreciate appreciates. Did you create this, or was it just there? It was there, right? It's a universal principle. So appreciation, when we appreciate other people, a lot grows. We grow, they grow, the good behavior grows. In fact, there's an old book, it was written in the 80s, I think, 70s or 80s, and it was called The 1 Minute Manager. It's all about how to manage by giving people appreciation and speaking up when you see them doing something right. This author's theory was, if you find somebody doing something right and you appreciate it, then it'll reinforce it. And he claims in this book that when you develop a culture like that in your family and your personal relationships at your company, then when somebody does something wrong and you don't have to mention that. Just the very fact that you didn't say something meritorious about them, they'll realize, oh, I did something wrong. That's how he says develop a culture. And there's something to be said about that. You can try this. Take time. Let's go to the next slide, because I think I'd go into this a little more. Notice, I'm going to look up what that means. Notice the fact of observing or paying attention to something. That's a good one. And yeah, notice comes from Old French, notia, being known, or notice, known, see notion. So notice things. This is one of the ways to grow your relationship and make it sweeter, make it like nectar, is use gratitude. But you have to be on alert. You have to be alert and try to find people doing something that you appreciate, and then give gratitude. It's a gift. Give some gratitude for even the smallest gifts that people give you, in the way that they act, in the way that they do something for you, and see what happens to your relationship. It's amazing. Okay, let's see the next one. Entitlement. Entitlement blocks gratitude. Just like there's rock, paper, scissors, if I'm not incorrect. There's 3, right? Any champions in here know how to play that? So paper covers rock, isn't it, Kennedy? She raised her hand. She said yes. So in a similar way, entitlement blocks gratitude. When I think that I deserve more, there's a sense that I can't appreciate what I'm getting right now. Doesn't matter how much it is. If my entitlement is more than what I'm getting, then I can't appreciate it. And I can feel so entitled that I don't appreciate anything. I become spoiled. Can spoil a child, can spoil your own mind and the way you interact with the world and the way you interact with everyone from being entitled. feeling entitled. So entitlement is the mother of disappointment. And what if you were to expunge entitlement from your life altogether? What do you think would happen? Let's come back to the Zoom room. I really want to hear an answer to this. This is not a rhetorical question. I'm asking, first of all, you think it's possible to not feel entitled? And what would happen to the way you interact with other people if you had no entitlement? Entitlement? Yeah, I'll tell you what it means. Entitlement, it means the fact of having a right to something. The belief that one is inherently deserved. This is it. You ready? The belief that one is inherently deserving of privileges or special treatment. That's the heart of it right there. Okay, Wiesom's going to say something, I can tell. Right? Yeah, it's like with Superman. He has kryptonite, right? And it makes he loses all this power. So for a soul, for a living being, our job is to appreciate, to have gratitude. And when we get this noxious substance called entitlement, then it kills that spirit. It's like, wasn't good enough. Go ahead, Wiesom.
No, I think the entitlement poisons everything. And some people, they might have the entitlement not in their dictionary, but others, it's like to their soul. It's part of their DNA. They can't get rid of it. They are entitled indefinitely. So that's what I'm thinking, really. I think it's a DNA thing. It's the way we are having our brains wired.
Well, that's the big question. Is it nature or nurture, right? And then what the Vedas say is, yes, we come in with the karma that we got from previous moment. We're coming into this lifetime. We have some predisposition to act in certain ways, to think in certain ways. But then it says everyone can improve themselves some way or another. And, someone might be starting from a greater deficit because we're on a continuum. But one thing, it comes in the Vedanta Sutras, says that because these ancient wisdom literatures are saying you can improve, or to improve, try to work on yourself, it means that you can come to a higher level. But sometimes it feels as if it's completely stuck. But that's why we're having the conversation too. Because if I start really looking at myself and how much I feel entitled to things, I can make a long list. But what if I just tore up that list and said, let me start over, or at least practice in certain instances of not feeling entitled at all? How would I feel to not feel entitled?
Yeah, I just wanted to add what Lori has put on chat, and I was exactly feeling the same thing. Everything would delight you.
What a perfect way to say it.
Yeah.
That's
And
great.
I just want to add, like, I exactly felt the same thing. Everything would delight you. And more importantly, if you receive a reaction or something which was not appropriate, it won't actually touch you at all, actually, because you never expected anything from them. So it never reaches you, and you understand, yeah, their bucket is not full, they are empty. Once their bucket is full, they'll be fine. So it will not touch you. So one, it makes it delightful on every end. Second, nothing touches you.
That's amazing. Really amazing. I think you and Lori said, gave the main points. Because if you can imagine what your consciousness would be like if you didn't expect anything from anyone. I mean, sometimes when you're driving on the freeway, you become angry. Not you, I'm saying somebody might become angry because they expected, that people would stay in their lane, that they wouldn't text while driving, or they wouldn't drive too fast. But if you don't expect that, in fact, there was a person I stay with in Southern California. He teaches management at Chapman University. And I was talking to him once, and I was saying, yeah, we have to lower our expectations. And he said, no, the phrase is you have to manage your expectations. It's actually a business term in management, because when you manage people's expectations, they're in the right place, then it's actually, they use that word, then they feel delighted when they come in contact with what you're presenting. Tanya said something.
Yeah, Tanya said, if you release feeling entitled, you would be serving others instead of yourself.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic. There's so many dimensions you all bringing out on this. I just was thinking when you said that, Tanya, it's like, you're holding on to this bird of entitlement and then just release it. It's like, now I'm free, no more entitlement in my life. And that way you're open to serve others. When nothing is expected, everything would be serving others instead of yourself. Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the main switches that we can turn. Also, as far as service goes, if we're feeling annoyed or impatient or whatever we feel with others, we might look and say, am I in a service mode now? How could I serve them? Rather than, why aren't they serving me enough? Go ahead, Jam, because I got 2 more slides to finish. And let's read what Aditi said.
Yeah, Aditi says, it feels painful to be not entitled in first place, as being selfish is in my nature. It keeps me restricted, and that is because I'm attached to the positive consequences that comes out of entitlement. That's the way humans are wired, I guess. Got to let go of such consequences or expectations to set the standards straight for any human being to not feel bound of them. Then this will lead to happiness at all times.
Yeah. Well, it feels painful to not be entitled in the first place, being selfish in my nature. It keeps me restricted. Yeah, it's a nice realization because I'm attached to the positive consequences that come out of entitlement. That's right. It's a kind of an attachment. And it's unreasonable too, because we're not able to maintain that. Things shift all the time. Jam, let's go to the last slide. As you do, I'm going to read. Kennedy said, when nothing is expected, everything is a gift. When everything is expected, everything is a disappointment. Okay, here we go. Last few slides. The practice of gratitude means fighting against the force of entitlement. So if it's in your DNA, then try to get what do they call those things? Stem cell replacement or something. Okay, go to the next one because I'm whizzing through right now. People, nay, all living beings are amazing. This is one of the ways to be appreciative, is every single living entity is amazing. In fact, everything about the world is amazing. Einstein said you can see everything as a miracle. Or you can just get bored and think, like, how am I going to distract myself? But you have to go into it. If you get rid of your television, and you'll start seeing the greenness of the trees and how the light dances, and be amazed and so forth. So we're distracted from that. Let's see the next. To cultivate gratitude, remember some things to remember to take away. No one person in this world is exactly the same as another. Every conscious being is endlessly fascinating. What people have done for you, this is to remember. Remember this, what people have done for you and what they are doing for you right now. Remember that. Be aware of it. And here's what to forget. Forget what you've done for them. Don't bring it up. Don't bring it up. Okay, next one. Don't take your friends, family, and associates for granted. Appreciate them. See what happens. Turn the tables. And finally, Stephen Wright. There's 2 more quotes. I heard that you don't know what you've got till it's gone. So I gave away everything so I could appreciate it to see what I had. He's a comedian, but he has so much wisdom in his humor. And lastly, we have, I think, from President Kennedy, he said, as we express our gratitude, we must never forget the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. So to enact gratitude, it's great work if you can get it, right? You know, this reminds me, even in the highest elevations on the earthly planet, there are yogis who live in caves. They go up there deliberately, be by themselves, and just get away from the internet. And while they're there meditating, every once in a while, they come out to get some tubers. With those, they grow like roots in the ground. They take them out. Like we get from Mexico, jicama. Jicama is like tuber, I think. And when you cut that open, there's some nourishing substance in there, and these yogis, they eat that and they stay alive. But when they're out and they see one another on the high peaks of the Himalayas, and they have some gratitude for that they have some colleagues there, they have this ritual. They raise their hands high in the air like this, palms forward, and they say this phrase Hari Bol, which means keep the transcendental vibration going. It's a nice tradition. Let's try it. Well, before we go.
Haribol.
Haribol.
Haribol. Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
you.
Have gratitude and act gratitude. See what happens. It's homework. You got to report it next time.